Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm obviously very happy because of the unwavering support that you continue to give our channel. More and more people continue to subscribe to our channel, and I want to ask you in the same breath, if you're watching for the first time, kindly hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and like our videos. I love watching the bilateral and multilateral relationship between Kenya and the international community. Social relationship, economic relationships, and most importantly, the political relationship. In the middle of the political quagmire that Kenya found itself in, foreign diplomats abandoned Raila Odinga when William Ruto was using brutal force on his convoy and on the peaceful demonstrators, supporters of Raila Odinga. When Raila Odinga pushed William Ruto to the wall and William Ruto was choking, William Ruto ran very fast to seek for help from the international community. And one of our great friends, the Senator of Delaware, Mr. Coons, rushed into the country, and he held meetings with our Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He held another meeting with Azimio leader Raila Odinga, and of course earlier on he had had another meeting with William Samoei Ruto in Germany. So Senator Coons came into the country armed, knowing very well that he was going to broker a truce like he did in the year 2017 when Raila Odinga and the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta had political altercations. Little did he know that William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta are two different kettles. They don't think the same. So the senator spent a few days in the country, and he had the bragging right when the two leaders called for a ceasefire. William Ruto said that he was ready to talk to the Azimio leader, and then just a few hours later, Raila Odinga articulated facts that he was going to suspend the Azimio demonstrations. But just a few hours after Senator Coons jetted out of the country, things are getting thicker, because William Ruto seems to be reneging and negating on the basis of their talks with Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga had some irreducible minimum that he wanted William Samoei Ruto to address. But William Ruto seems and looks to be cherry picking what he wants to address, and this has angered Raila Odinga. So today, Raila Odinga held a parliamentary caucus, the Azimio parliamentary caucus, and they had a meeting to deliberate on what William Ruto had proposed before they meet. And he had some not very kind words to the foreign masters, because he was asked whether he was being cajoled by the international community to do that which the international community wants. And Raila told them off. Just take a look.
Secondly, I don't know where you got your information from, but Senator Coons left Nairobi, I think it was on Sunday last week, because I talked to him on Monday and he had already arrived in Washington, D.C. Because he met the other side, and he also came and met with us. And we told him exactly what we know and the reason why we are actually going to the streets. And he said that that is our democratic right, to go to the street to protest peacefully. He did not see anything wrong with us doing that at all. So, but we need to know that we are not a colony of the United States. So we do things as Kenyans. We are happy when our international friends want to come and make suggestions how we should resolve our issues, but ultimately, Kenyan problems must be solved by Kenyans, Kenyan leaders. That's the reason why we said we are calling a truce, a ceasefire, to give negotiations a chance. But we want to reiterate very clearly here that if the other side does not cooperate, then we will have no other option but to go back to the trenches. And this will be maybe as early as sometimes next week.
You know what angers Raila Amolo Odinga is the fact that every now and then we hold an election, the international community would rob him of his victory. And I'm wondering, why? Is Raila a devil? What has he done to the international community that they don't want Raila to ascend to that power? Is it because Raila is calling for the unity of Africa? Because I understand that the day Africa will start speaking the same language, then they start trading among themselves. Then they will enjoy their natural resources in such a way that anybody coming from outside, they will negotiate together so that we will stop this exploitation. We will not have Congo, one of the richest countries in Africa, fighting among themselves. Very rich yet so poor. And we also understand that the day Africa gets united, then we will have a strong currency, African currency. Then we will stop trading with euro and dollar. And that is one thing that the West does not want to hear. And maybe that is the reason why they don't want Raila Amolo Odinga. Or could it be because Raila's father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, was working closely with the East, because he had a very close ties with Russia. Raila Amolo Odinga himself studied in the East Germany, then under the Soviet Union. They don't want Raila to ascend to power. Recently, when Raila started all these calls for mass demonstrations, William Ruto wrote a letter to foreign diplomats accusing Raila Amolo Odinga of a man who wants to usurp powers and topple his government, according to William Ruto, and a legally elected president, and then Raila swears in himself as the president. That is what he's saying. But bold Raila wrote another letter explaining to the diplomats that we are doing what is entrenched in our constitution, because we have the freedom of picketing and freedom of association. So Raila Amolo Odinga today reiterated those facts and is telling them that we are not a colony of America. And if there is one message that I've always wanted America to understand from where they are, whether from White House, wherever they are, is that we are never a colony of the United States. We have our problems and we must solve them in our own way. Let me ask you, for example, did you know that the West is responsible for our predicaments? Raila Amolo Odinga is talking of the high cost of living, and he is asking William Ruto to reinstate the subsidies that he abandoned. Uhuru Kenyatta knew very well that Kenyans were suffering, and he introduced certain subsidies on fuel, on maize flour, on electricity, on school fees. But when William Ruto took the oath of office, he abandoned them. And do you know why? These were restrictions and conditions given by the IMF, International Monetary Fund. So they are part of our problem. They are not part of our solution. And there is one question that I keep on asking. Why haven't the West responded to Raila's call to open servers? Because it is very simple. This is the simplest request I have ever had in my life. Open the server. Very simple. Today, Raila Amolo Odinga released a statement saying that he's got some intel that some people are interfering with the server. How can you separate the West? How can you not point fingers at them? Yet we know very well that they are the people who connived to rob Raila of his votes. So they've started interfering with these servers, so that in the end you will hear them saying that we are now ready to open this server, Mr. Daingai, come here with the Ruto. I mean, we can't. allow this. Raila Amolo Odinga has made it very clear he is playing hardballs. So Mr. Coons has flown outside the country, is jetted out, and back at home we are back to factory settings, because Raila has said the cost of living must come down, or server must be opened. Even the process that is going to take place in Parliament, Raila understands very well that William Ruto controls this Parliament, and William Ruto is very shrewd and cunning, so Raila has got other conditions. In fact, he has even said that those who are victims of police brutality in the mass actions, the government must take full responsibility and meet all their medical expenses. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the best message that Raila should tell the West. I know people like Paul Kagame also tells them the same. In fact, Paul Kagame sometimes asks that, why does the West think that civilization must be defined in their own terms? When they come here with LGBTQ+, that is what they know and they believe is civilization. When you refuse that, then they tell you that you're still living in an archaic world. I mean, we can also define civilization in our own way. You cannot tell us that we are not civilized, yet you come here with these things that are not within our culture. We are in the same century with you. I remember sometimes back, Tom Mboya criticized the West that they don't believe we are in the same century with them. They think that we are a little, maybe 2 centuries below them. They don't understand that we also have our freedom and rights. How I wish that election interference stops, so that in 2027, America, Europe, and all these countries that always come here to masquerade as champions of democracy stop and leave us to conduct our own elections. Raila has said it, and please, the only thing we want to request the international community to do to us, ask William Samoei Ruto, ask the Kenyan courts, the judiciary, to open that server before it is interfered with. With that, you will remain our friends. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take.